Everything that we do, we create.
Oh, I got it. I got it. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are.
What's up, guys?
Yeah, PTST is back. It's
Yes.
been a minute. Yeah, we've just had a whole lot going on, and we've
Yeah.
got a whole lot to talk about.
Yes, we
So,
do.
yeah, yeah. So thanks for popping your little head in to join us today.
Yep.
We had to do something for the month of February. And to be honest with you, Darius, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
I
I'm
know I
doing
was gonna
good.
just keep right on talking.
I'm glad that we're back, and I'm excited about what we're going to share. But I'm excited about just having this time with you again. You know, I always enjoy our time, so I hope everybody else enjoys it because I get a lot out of it. How are you?
Me,
Yes,
I'd
you.
be I'd be good. I'd
Good.
be good. Yeah, like I said, just a whole lot going on.
A lot
Just
going
a
on.
yeah, just a resetting and you know, learning and unlearning and relearning.
Right.
And yeah, we got a lot of that stuff happening. You know, energy shifts, this new world order coming in. If you haven't watched our video, I think it's episode number 4 about the new
hmm
world order. Check it out because we're gonna keep adding to that.
Yeah, and people need
And
to understand that there's a reason why they're feeling certain things and going through certain things. So I think that they need to go back, and if they've seen it, go back and watch it again because you'll
yeah,
get something
yeah,
else out of it.
yeah, because there's a big energy shift going on in
hmm
in the universe, you know, and so it's just time to begin to reconfigure things,
Yes,
you know, and so that's why we're going to carry on this month. I don't know how many videos we're going to get out, Darius, but
we'll do the
like I
best we
said,
can.
I we got a whole lot to talk about, right? And
hmm
so
hmm
we're labeling this series of videos lack history. We called it Black History Month, but I think it might go on for more than a month.
Right.
Okay. All right. First of all, I don't I don't really cater or cotton, as they would say in the old days. I don't cotton too much to the whole idea of Black History Month.
hmm
Because I think that we should be celebrating ourselves each and every day.
Yep, I
Three
agree.
Yeah, 365 days out of the year, according to the Gregorian uh, calendar. You know, it's like we've been here.
hmm
We were here before here was here,
Yes.
right? And so we have an incredible history as a melanated people
hmm
that we have not been taught. That's why I like to look at it as lack history,
Yeah, because there's a lack of history.
a lack of history.
hmm
But as we go through this process of lack history, you're going to learn that it wasn't just the melanated people's history
hmm
that was, I want to say, reversed,
hmm
told backwards,
hmm
not told as it really happened,
hmm
and that it's not our narrative.
Right. And there are certain parts that just weren't told, period.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. But then I want to flip the coin, right?
Okay.
Because when you tell mendacities of great proportion, meaning
Mm-hmm.
one lie on top of another,
Yes.
right, to create this narrative, you're not just lying about one group of people.
Right.
You're lying about everybody.
Everybody. Everybody in your narrative has been lied about.
That's right. You can't lie about one narrative or one segment of a population or one species
Right.
without displacing another.
Exactly. And this is the ironic part to that, is that they're trying to show a particular segment of the population in one light, but that's also, you're lying on that segment that you're trying to actually highlight. So you're not even being truthful about that section that you're trying to highlight.
Well, bottom line, Jerry, is the long and short of it is that we've all been lied to. Black people have been lied to because our history has been distorted, and white people have been lied to because their history has been distorted. So
Yes.
don't nobody know who they be.
Nobody. Yep.
I know. So we're all running around here living out a narrative that was created by the nobility and the elite,
Mm-hmm.
so that they could just sit back and make all the money and control everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we are
So,
currently in a situation where they are continuing to fight to keep the narrative going.
well, and that's why there's so much chaos.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Because when one thing ends, sometimes it ends destructively,
Yes.
but you have to have an ending in order to have a beginning.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Exactly.
now we're just not talking, we're just not babbling, right? We have been, well, I've been trying to figure out how to say this. Right? And so I've been watching videos and I thought, this might be a good point at which to begin.
And I think
All
it's
right.
very interesting people too. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about those people as we go on. But when I was living in no, I'm gonna give a quote. All
Okay.
right. This quote comes from none other than the Rod Hayes. I'm gonna give out a shout out to my boy Rod Hayes. He's on YouTube, but he is an incredible knowledge keeper, incredible
Mm-hmm.
record keeper. But this is what Rod said. And when he said it, I just stopped the video. Consciousness, in other words, awareness,
Mm-hmm.
knowing what you know, only resides in the part of the creation that you give attention to.
Mm. All right.
All
One
right.
more
And
time. One more
I'm
time.
going to say it a couple of times because it's going to
Okay.
be applicable, right? Consciousness only resides in the part of the creation that you give attention to.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So you only give attention to that which you are conscious of. You only give attention to that which you know.
Right.
And there is a point at which things have been created
Mm-hmm.
based upon falsehoods.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's why we chose to start our conversation at this point. We're going to show you a little video or clips from a video of this brother being interviewed by Joe Rogan.
Mm.
All right. Joe is real controversial. All right. But
Interesting character.
the brother's name is Hotep Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he talks about this whole idea of slavery.
From the beginning.
Okay. From the very beginning. We're not going to show the whole video, but it resonated with me because when I lived in Fresno, the Fresno Bee, every February 1st would do all of this stuff for Black History Month, right? And on one page, they had this huge, I mean, this was graphic, you know, in images worth 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
All right, of African American accomplishments. And guess where it started? It started at slavery,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, wait a minute, they're painting the picture that we came up from slavery. We crawled up out of the ground from slavery.
During slavery, yeah, right.
Right?
We weren't here before slavery.
Well, we were here before here was here.
Right.
But like I said before, so every year I would write to the Fresno Bee. And I wrote for 10 years to the Fresno Bee. Stop doing this.
Right.
What does it do to the psyche of people?
Very key.
Yeah. It's like, this isn't right. We've had a glorious history,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as a melanated people, and it goes much deeper than we would actually know. But at any rate, can we start off with Hotep? He got some big eyes. He looks kind of wild-eyed. So don't let him have you back off.
Something horrible happened to the Black community, and they're
Good.
still suffering from it,
Mhm.
especially in the Deep South. When you look at these places where the people who lived are the direct descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
And then these are the same impoverished neighborhoods that no one's ever done anything to try to fix.
Right.
So how do you fix it?
You first have to start with the subconscious mind of the Black mind. The problem with the Black mind is the fact that the Black mind starts off with a defeatist mentality. From the day you're born, you're taught the white man's out to get you. So you start off with a boogeyman, and then you're taught that you're a slave, right? So when your subconscious mind believes that the beginnings of your race is a slave, how do you aspire to be more than that? So in order to correct the Black community, you have to teach Black history, or so-called Black history, or what I would say African history, in chronological order. Before we were slaves, we were kings. So how do you have a whole entire nation of 40 some odd million Black people, and majority of them never heard of Queen Angola, who never heard of the Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, you know, none of this stuff, right? King Mansa Musa. How do you raise the people's level of awareness about this stuff, and how do you elevate them to want to do things in life when they think they are a slave? That's the first thing that you have to do to help Black people. You have to teach them who they are.
That expression, before they were slaves, they were kings. The problem with that is a king is a monarch, and a monarch is one person who controls giant groups of people. You can't have a bunch of kings. There's not a lot of kings. You can't have a nation of kings.
Correct. But that's very different from saying, you know, that we had 4 kings, right? Let's say there were just 4, right? Mm-hmm. That's better than saying Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and these free slaves, right? You actually have to see at least one king.
I see what you're saying.
You know, at least say.
So see one advanced human being that also looks like you, that came from the same part of the world where your ancestors came from. So recognize that the trajectory that you and your family are on is a direct result of being enslaved. That someone was enslaved in the past and brought over here against their will. Mm-hmm. That's why there's the negative mindset. That's why there's a negative self-image, is because there's this great history of oppression.
Yeah. You know, when you think you're a slave, you can't operate outside of that.
And even if you don't think you're a slave, you think you're inferior. You know, I had, do you know who Miss Pat is?
No.
Hilarious comedian, one of the funniest human beings alive. And she
Okay.
was here, and one of the things she was talking about is when she was younger, that when she would see white people, she wouldn't look them in the eye. She would get
Yeah.
nervous. She felt inferior being around them. She just wanted to get away. She didn't feel like she belonged.
Right, right. And that's a product of not knowing who you are, not knowing your own personal power. You know, when you look at the Second Punic Wars of Carthage, you had Hannibal went through the Alps, which is a mission impossible, and he went all the way to the doors of Rome. And Rome said, "Yo, we ain't coming outside to fight you, bro. We ain't coming." That's how strong the powerful the army was. They said, "We don't want to fight." They knew if they came outside those gates, they would get their ass whooped. So how do you have a people that walk around not knowing that Hannibal Barca is a studied war general today? The Pentagon still studies him, right? So how are you operating in America as a black person and not know who Hannibal Barca is?
Well, it's difficult, I think, for people that were born in America and all their known ancestors are from America to even relate. Like my family is mostly from Italy and Sicily, and some of them from Ireland. I don't relate at all. I visit Italy in the summer times. I don't relate at all.
Right. So then the other psyop is the fact that we were the natives. We were not brought here on slave ships. That's not economically sound. This
What do you
doesn't
mean?
make sense. So when Christopher Columbus got here, Christopher Columbus got to the Caribbean, according to a primary source.
Right.
They basically said the first thing he did was take slaves. He didn't bring slaves. He took slaves from the island. He captured people. So when you have colonization, you got to remember, the United States was only built 13 colonies at first, right? You think this whole land was empty? No, there were natives here.
Right.
But today we're taught that natives is some other people. No, natives are the melanated African being that has come here since the beginning of the Mali Empire. We're talking about 14th, 13th century. We had already come here from Africa.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had already come here.
To the United States or to
This
the Caribbean?
landmass we call the United States. So the way the ocean current works is it works from Africa, leaves out of West Africa, comes to South America and the Caribbean. That's just how the currents go. You don't need no paddle boat or nothing. It'll just, the currents just take you there, and then you travel up. But we had already been here. All you got to do is look up the story of Sarah Rector. Sarah Rector is a wealthy so-called Native American. I think she was Choctaw tribe or one of these tribes, but she was wealthy, and she wanted a VI pass to go somewhere, and they had her classified as a free person. Why don't we know about the wealthy so-called black people in America? Why don't we know that there were black slave owners in America? Why is that not taught? Why is it not taught?
How many black slave owners were there?
Man, the natives here had slaves. They were trading slaves with the so-called white man.
Well, they definitely did that. Natives
Okay.
enslaved people of other tribes.
Right. So if those people are us, the so-called black man, if those natives were us, then we have to tell that history and say how we did have territories and we did, carry out commerce, and we weren't slaves. We were slave owners.
Right, but the majority of African Americans that lived here were brought over here.
No,
That's
not economically sound.
What do you mean by it's not economically sound? Like there were slave ships, right?
All right, let's say you wanted to have, you wanted to sell marijuana, right?
Right.
Would you import marijuana or would you grow it here if it's already here?
Well, it depends on whether or not marijuana grew here.
Well, can you grow marijuana here?
You can, but
Okay.
we're just talking about marijuana. Like, what if
So-
we're talking
so-
about something that you can't grow here?
So what I'm saying is, people were already here. Does it make sense to go all the way to this other continent to bring people on the boat when we know that half of your stock is going to die? You wouldn't do that.
So how many people do you think were brought over from Africa on slave ships? Because that definitely happened.
I don't believe it.
What do you mean you don't believe it?
I don't believe that story.
You don't believe that Africans were brought over on slave ships?
Correct. I believe it may have happened, maybe people were brought over as slaves, but I don't think that the black people in America came from Africa on slave ships. I believe the people that were here were slowly conquered. First, they got the East Coast, and then they started spreading out west little by little, conquering. And when you conquer a tribe, what do? You enslave them. They're POWs, right?
Okay.
That's what you do. So you, after you conquer
POWs.
this tribe, you make them slaves. Now, how do you conquer the natives here? So let's say you got this tribe is warring against this tribe. Well, this tribe goes talk to the white man. White man says, yo, if you help me wipe out these people, then boom, I'll help you with whatever. So they get together and they wipe out this other tribe. Now, guess what? The white man now outnumbers this tribe. So he wipes them out. You just kill two birds with one stone. You just keep moving like that.
But I'm still confused. There's a great history of slave ships being brought over from Africa with Africans that became slaves and worked in the South. You think that's lies?
History is his story.
Right.
What about my story? Is my story not valid?
Okay.
But if you do
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And that's go ahead. So I'm gonna let you go because I had quite a few things with that.
Okay, Mike. Darius?
Well, first, let me say this.
All right, go ahead.
And I hope everybody kind of really looked at that and paid attention to the video. And we played several minutes of it because he really touched on several different things that I thought were impactful. But first, I thought it was very powerful, the idea that we are born at this point, we are born into this space where we are instantly taught that we were slaves. And when you look at, and it goes back to the story that you told, right, about when you were in California, that in America, and actually across the world now, because this story has been told so many times that everybody has just decided to adopt it as fact. But our history starts at slavery. I don't remember a time being in high school, being in middle school, being in college, where they talk about Black people prior to slavery. So like you said, it's like we just popped up out the mud and it was slavery. Like there was nothing. Who we be. Right, it was nothing prior to. So the one thing that I think that, Hotep really touched on that was powerful is the fact that how do you get a person, a people, to really believe that they are great and they have greatness within them when they are taught from birth that you're just nothing but a descendant of a slave. And that's it.
Well, and I have an answer.
Okay.
You go all the way back.
Right.
You go I had to go in my garage and dust off my old books.
Yeah. Well,
All
that's
right?
part of that's the greatness of this show. And I'm gonna let you go back, but that's the greatness that we want you to seek truth. So that's part of seeking the truth. But go ahead.
Because I mean, it's a narrative. Hitler once said, "You tell a big lie, you keep it simple, and you keep telling it over and over until people believe it."
There it is.
All right. So
If you
now,
tell the same lie for 400 years, people will start to believe it.
yeah, and they'll think that's who they be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then my mind is thinking, 400 years, more than 400 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back.
Okay.
I'm going way, way, way back to the very beginning. I'm going back to universal stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The universe is 13.5 billion years old.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Okay.
The great ether.
Mm-hmm.
Earth is like 5 billion years ago,
Okay.
or 5 billion years old. All
Okay.
right. And there's some controversy because there is the universe has its age. The earth then has its age of like 5 billion years, but that's scientifically. All right. That's
Okay.
the scientific. There is a religious perspective that the earth is only 6,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world happened prior to all of that?
Right.
Okay. I mean, where's the history?
They don't know it. Well, they're not telling it if they do know it.
What happened? The numbers just didn't jive for me. Okay. And there's a big debate. I mean, there's a lot of controversy about how old the earth is,
Right.
because you have the religious versus the science camp.
Right.
Okay. And there's also a lot of controversy over this whole idea of whether slavery existed or not.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk to people about it, sometimes people want to fight with you because they want to stay slaves.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
you fight for
yeah.
what you believe in.
Yeah, you want to put up your dukes. All right. But bottom line, this earth, okay, has been inhabited by 5 to 6 civilizations. Look it up.
Yes. Yes.
Look it up. 5 to 6 civilizations. All right. And the civilizations have usually ended with some great catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fires, floods, ice ages. And we were taught that any population that was living on Earth became extinct.
Right.
Not true.
And was primitive.
Not true.
Not true.
So there's a whole bunch of other stuff that has happened.
Yeah.
When you go back and you read up on Egyptian history, ancient, not current, because current Egyptian history kind of portrays Egypt as if it was Hollywood.
Right.
Okay. But you go back, you will find that there were advanced civilizations living on this earth. I mean, globally.
Yeah, not just one place.
Not just one place, but they were all melanated people.
Yeah.
So, like I said, when I say we were here before here was here, that's the truth.
Right. And you can research that.
It's my truth. Okay. That's how I've constructed my knowledge.
Right. But those things can be researched. So there's receipts for that. You know, you can go and look that up. And it's always interesting because if you start to research all those things, you'll find that there are a lot of inconsistencies in the stories we've been told. There's a lot of holes. There's a lot of gaps. And it's you know, it jumps from this to that. And some of it, like Hotep was saying in the video, it's like it just doesn't make sense. Like if you think about it, right? If you think about it, it doesn't make sense. Like, how did this happen? How did we get from here to here? We just skipped over a big gap of time if you're looking at the timeline that we're given. And the other thing is, when you talked about there being 5 or 6 civilizations, there's proof of that. There's proof of that.
when whenever I think about you staying up all night watching the National Geographic,
Oh yeah, I
looking
watched all that.
looking for pyramids in America. You said, Denise, I'm so tired. I stayed up all night.
Right. Because and you know what made me mad about that? So they had, so for everybody to know, their National Geographic did this whole thing about uncovering, or I think it was uncovering America or something like that. But they were talking about, you know, pyramids and the mounds that are here in the United States. But it was so expected, really, that always they came back and said, "Oh, we couldn't determine this, or we couldn't determine that." But it's out there that there's stuff in the Grand Canyon, there's pyramids, there are mounds, and all that stuff in Ohio, all over the place, all up and down the Mississippi River. It's out there, but it's hidden. Just on that note, though, Denise, I wanted to share this. What I find so interesting about this country and how they do stuff, wherever there was something found, they make it a national park.
Exactly.
So now you can't just walk in there and try to just do and look at it and see what's actually there. It's a national park run by the government.
All
I'm gonna
right.
leave that there.
No. I'm going to finish it for you. Listen, there's this thing called the Clovis culture. Like it's like a regime, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's something that paleontologists, archaeologists, and geologists put up. It pertains only to America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a golden rule that you only dig as far as back down as deep as 12 to 13,000 years.
Wow. See, I didn't know that.
Because they believe that there's nothing that exists.
Well, if I tell you there's nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, remember what Napoleon said? If you tell the lie, keep it simple, people will believe you. So if I just say there's nothing down there, don't waste your time.
Oh boy.
So.
Yeah, you don't dig. Paleontologists, archaeologists, researchers, but there's this dude who is a investigative journalist.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Graham Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's been called loony for years. This dude has been researching ancient sites for well over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been terribly, terribly disparaged by the scientific community, by anthropologists, paleontologists, geologists, and whatnot. But in one of his last videos, he reported that they have found human remains, the discards of human remains in California, the San Diego area, that are 150,000 years old. So how old is the Earth?
6,000 years.
How many civilizations have inhabited the Earth?
Oh, it's been, at least 5 or 6.
Yeah. Who
in
were
our
the first people
5
on
billion
Earth?
years.
They were melanated people. They were people of color throughout the entire globe.
The entire planet. The entire planet. So it's very interesting to hear and read in our history books that our history starts at slavery. Mm. It's fascinating to me.
Yep.
Fascinating.
Yep.
And it's interesting that you even said that about, you know, the digging part here in America, because you'll hear about their archaeological sites, that's how I pronounce it right, sites on all these different places, but never here in the United States.
Well, remember now what age it is.
Mm-hmm.
This is the age of revelations,
Mm-hmm.
where things are going to be disclosed, and they're going to pop out like, oh, look at this new finding.
Right. Right.
Oh,
I'm waiting.
look at this.
I'm waiting for the narrative of it.
Yeah, there's a big narrative that I'm waiting on. I don't know
Uh-huh.
that I'll be here in this flesh when it pops out. But all I can say is that I put it out there in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Forgot.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
So this whole idea of slavery.
Mm.
Hotep, you want to go? We took you all for a little ride. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did.
but but I mean, that's how I think. Because
Me too.
remember now, I'm thinking about consciousness only resides in the part of the creation that you give attention to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if our consciousness lies with our creation as slaves, then that's all we're going to give attention to.
Yep.
And we're going to be stuck there.
And we're going to operate in that space. And that's the space we operate in, because that is as far as our imagination, our minds will go, because we have not unlocked who we really are,
Right. Our awareness.
who we be. Right.
Yeah, our awareness, we can't fathom it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, put out your antennae.
Yeah.
You know, be that cosmic being that you are. Be that miracle that you are. You know, and take in new things.
Yeah.
You know, play with them, research them, say, wait a minute, construct your own knowledge.
Yeah. And be open to what may go against what you've been taught. Be open to what may go against what you've been taught. Because what we've been taught, because you're taught something, because somebody says something, because somebody tries to quote unquote teach you something, does not necessarily mean that it's fact.
Or your narrative. That
Or your
might
narrative.
not who you be.
Exactly. So I said it in the book. I wrote in the book. I said, think about what you think about. Like, think about what you think about. Think about the things that you think are factual. Think about that. One of the things I liked about the video and what Hotep had said is that it just didn't make sense.
Can we play that?
We can play some more of it, but that's just, for me, it just didn't. There was so much of it that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, he calls it common sense. He says it's stupid.
Yeah,
he says
it's
when
stupid.
you think about it. And that's what's called thinking.
So do you believe that some Africans came over here in slave ships, or none?
Very minimal.
Very minimal, really?
Very minimal.
So you think it's a myth?
Almost.
Now, is there any scholars that support these opinions? Are these your opinions? Or where are you getting this from?
So here's the thing. This is stuff I've studied probably close to 15 years ago. So I don't remember a lot of my sources or who I learned it from, but I can give you a couple of names. What you got to do is you got to look up Shaka Akmos. You got to look up Dr. Kaba Kameen, Dr. Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemmett. Who else is a good Egyptologist? Shaka Akmos is a real good Egyptologist. I think you should start there with Shaka Akmos. But these are videos I used to watch and lectures I used to watch back in the day. Now I focus on like startups, and that's where my brain is. That's where my knowledge is focused on.
Right.
But a lot of this stuff comes from my own common sense.
Yeah. Do you believe in the slave trade?
Do you believe in the slave?
All right. And then Rogan asked the brother, how do you know?
Yes. Is it just your thoughts, or are scholars saying this?
Yeah. Is this an opinion?
Yeah.
Right. So he says, I've been studying this for over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember everybody. You guys can pull up the video and play it yourselves. It's only, 22 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah. Then Ahotep begins to cite several scholars and researchers. All right. I'm going to give you one. Graham Hancock is one. He has a special on Netflix. It's called The Apocalypse something or other, but it's very interesting. And he talks about all of the ancient civilizations and the advanced nature of the ancient civilizations. Right. I mean, he goes through a script, right? But then he also does a more recent interview with Joe Rogan. It was about a week and a half ago, where he talks about specifically the Americas. All right. So there's Graham Hancock, there's Phil Valentine, there's Bobby Hemmett. All right. Ivan Van Sertima, that came before Columbus. Lerone Bennett Jr., John Henry Clark, and those that I've been most recently watching, because a lot of those were books I had read a while back. And so I had to dust off all of my knowledge and actually reconfigure some things. In other words, I had to unlearn and then relearn, right? But I watch Dane Calloway. All right. He's a brother.
Calloway?
Dane Calloway. He's a brother. Actually, Dane is right here in DC.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, he did one of his promos, and he was out on Benning Road talking about, I'm just here to make you think. All right. And he does really good docuseries. And he wrote a book. I would recommend you watch his videos, though. It was told in reverse, the untold truth about the transatlantic slave trade. Okay. And there's also Billy Carson. And who else? Rod Hayes is another one. And there's a brother that comes on from Oxford University or Oxford Institute in England. Akala is his name. Okay. Then there is this one brother, Kuramio Ahwa. Ahau.
Okay.
All right. So in order to listen to Carameo, you have to really dig your heels in. This is a brother out of Costa Rica.
Okay.
All right. He not only tells the story about the landmass of the Americas, North America, South America, all of those islands and everything. He tells that story, but he goes back to the actual original literature,
Mm.
the books from that era.
Yeah. That still exist that haven't been destroyed.
No, he has found all kinds of archives and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
archival data, archival books. And he reads that and he pulls that stuff apart. All right. Not just the Americas, though. This guy is very interesting. He cracks me up because he's just so calm and he's almost boring.
Mm.
All right. But he talks about European history,
Mm-hmm.
which we have not been taught. We've been taught this thing called Western civilization or whatever.
Right.
Caramel, he digs deep, and what I found out from him was that the white man's not white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there's Rod Hayes. All right. Rod Hayes will take you on a ride because Rod talks from so many different disciplines,
Right.
from science to religion to medicine to law. And so it's almost like, how do you follow him? You
Right.
just take
Rod gets a little
take
deep.
it in and you just construct. And he's the best cusser in the whole wide world. I thought my daddy could cuss, but Rod Hayes. Yeah. So there is research out there that provides a different narrative for people.
Yes.
And so
And
you have
something
to,
that goes
yeah.
beyond what we've been taught so far. Let's go back a little further. We didn't pop out of the mud at slavery. We didn't all come over here on slave ships. And there was a great history prior to.
Got that
And that's
right.
still not even going all the way back. Let's just say before slavery. Because we can go back a lot further than that. And there's a lot that took place on this landmass called Earth. How about all of that?
Well, all of that globally.
Yeah,
Globally.
globally.
And the thing that blows my mind with Kurameo Ahua is that he highlights in these old books the lies that have been told to white people about who they be.
And who they be.
It's like, I'll be
So
damned.
so Black history is not just for the melanated people. It's for all of us. We have all been bamboozled. We have all been told a narrative so that certain people can maintain dominance and control. And it puts us in a space where we are not even capable of operating and become our highest self because we have been conditioned to believe that we start from a certain point, which is not true. And we cannot get beyond that point because we can't even imagine that we are anything beyond that.
Yeah. And so what gets leaked out is all of these stories about all of the things that Black people have discovered and invented.
Right.
And that's such a wonderful accomplishment after having been enslaved.
After being a slave. And prior to being slaves, the one thing they do tell us is that we were uncivilized. We were living like animals. Even though we discovered math and science and all these other things, but we were uncivilized. So it's like, not only were we slaves, prior to slavery, we were out in the jungle with the animals. And that's who we are. So it's great that we were able to accomplish anything because they didn't think we were going to be able to read or we would be able to do any of those things. So
We didn't need to read.
not what they were writing.
No, we had a different way of communicating.
Yes, our language was different. Our communication was different.
We didn't have a language. We had symbols, we had pictures, we had telepathy.
Yes. We had different means of communicating. So, guys, because we're going on and on here.
Darius, I'm done. Are you done?
I am done. But this is what I wanted to I want to share this with everybody watching. Look, there's more to it.
Oh, there's something that I wanted to end on, a note that I wanted to end on.
Okay. But hold that thought. There's some things that we need to look a little beyond, right? We need to understand that we are greater than we've been taught. We are greater than we act. And lack history. I love that. Lack history just lets us know that we just want to expose some things and shine some light on things to just make you think, right? Make you seek the truth for you. So I hope all of you got something out of this. I want you to understand it's not just one people that has been told a narrative that is not true. We pretty much all have. So let's understand that we're still in that process of figuring out who we be. So Denise, thank you so much. I'm gonna leave it to you so you can share your thought. I know you have a thought before we end this particular session.
Okay. So when you reconfigure your way of thinking, your way of understanding, it has an effect. We live in a cause and effect universe.
Mm-hmm.
It will affect the way that you move.
Mm-hmm.
It will affect the way that you activate yourself.
Mm.
All right. So recently, Ron DeSantis in in the great state of Florida, he outlawed the teaching of African American history.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. AP African American Studies or something. Yeah.
Whatever it was he did.
Yeah.
And so everybody's hair was on fire. How can he do that? All right. So this is the way I put it together. And I want you to just think about how it affects us. Mm-hmm. Right? Do I want to go and march on the Capitol of Florida to reinstate African American studies in the schools in Florida? No, I do not, because Ron DeSantis did us a favor. He said, we're not teaching this anymore. And it's like, good, you're not teaching the lies anymore.
That's what I was going to say. Stop teaching the lie. Excellent.
But then I heard a commentator say, but then they're not going to teach us anything. And I thought, oh, they are not going to teach us anything.
That is a remnant of slavery. All right, Denise, I'm not going into this again with you because this will be another 30 minutes. We're going to be on here talking.
No, but what I have to say is, think about this. Mm-hmm. Do a little research.
Yep.
If you're up to it, reconfigure your way of thinking about who you be.
There it is.
Pass it on to your children. I'm concerned about the babies.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'm concerned about the babies. There are people who are aware of this knowledge, and they're pulling their kids out of public schools. I'm not saying do that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is please, please give your children something else to think about.
I agree.
I beg you to do that. It's for our babies.
That's it.
They are the continuity of life.
Yep.
And that's all I have to say. I appreciate y'all for being here.
Yes.
Thank you. Mucho gracias. Mucho gracias. Mucho. Much. Anyway, we're coming back with some more Black history.
Yes. This is just part one.
Yeah, this is just a foot warmer.
That's just to get your blood going. This is just a warm up. This is just a stretch before the workout.
Yeah, because I got lots more to say, and I know you do too, Darius.
You
Darius got
know,
fired up. He almost came out of his chair a couple of
you
times.
know this gets me going right here.
All right,
Hi, guys.
folks.
We
Take
love you.
care.
Be phenomenal.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.
Next time.